Thanks for clicking on the video. Today we're going to be looking at roof plans, and this is kind of a different video for me. At least it looks different. I guess we'll call this a static plan reading. All right, we're looking at the roof plan. Again, the job is the Hollowbird Academy. Downloaded these plans from the internet. This may be a bit of a longer video because this roof is quite extensive on this academy building, and we're gonna not rush things. We want to kind of go through it all. So this will help us. So we've got a couple of axonometric views. We've got an axonometric view of the entry canopy, and then we've got an axonometric view of the aerial, just an overall aerial deal there. Now, when I say axonometric, you'll notice it doesn't actually spell it out there, but that is what that axon is short for. And that's just basically the jargon for this type of an angle. So just looking at this, you can see that there's appears to be several different parts of the roof. For one, you can see that, let's zoom in a little bit more. You can see that there's different levels to the roofs. These are lower roofs, and there appears to be something going on there. This is lower. That one kind of steps down. And there also appears to be skylights in here. Skylights in there. That looks like a roof hatch right there. And so there, like I said, there's a lot going on here. And that's what you can tell by looking at the axonometric view. Now it breaks down that, what is this calling this? A solar lab outdoor learning classroom. So it gives an enlarged view of that section of the building, and we'll probably go to look at that. And then here's the canopy that it was showing in the other axonometric view. This is the canopy right there. So where to start? What I would say is, let's take a look at the roof symbol keys. But the one thing that you'd want to pay attention to is these elevations. So it says top of masonry, top of ICF wall, top of steel, top of joist, or actually joist bearing. So that symbol, of course, we know means an elevation. And it normally has a number letting you know how high off the ground this thing is. But these are more specific because it's going to tell you, like for here, TOM, it tells you this is the top of the masonry. Now, we looked at this wall in a previous video, and we saw that it is a quite involved wall. It's a ICF wall, and then there's, I guess, masonry on the outside of it. So this just lets you know that the top of masonry and the top of the ICF wall are both at the same elevation, which is 32 feet above finished floor. All right, and then you have other notations like this one here. This one, BOD, I bet you it stands for bottom of deck. Yeah, it stands for bottom of deck. So that means the underside of this roof, you know, this single story low roof is actually a deck. And so the underside of that deck, it's saying, is at an elevation of 14 feet and 10 inches. Now it also gives the joist beam elevation as well. The joist beams, it's kind of giving you a picture of how this is put together, but we're going to see that, and you can see that also if you click on probably one of these details here. We may need one that's slicing across this whole thing, maybe, but moving right along. So you can go through this whole thing and you can start to figure out the different elevations. Bottom of deck there, top of masonry, it's all over the place. And like I said, this is a pretty complex roof plan. That's why we're not really going to rush through it or anything like that. And if you have questions, this would be the time to drop them in the comments. These are those skylights right there. Tubular skylight type 1 on a flashed curb. Typical at 4 locations in the dining area. So this is right above the dining area of the school. Let's zoom out to see that. Right above the dining area of the school. They have a typical, a note here that says that this tubular skylight is typical at 4 locations. And I'm guessing 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the locations there. here it has mechanical exhaust equipment. All right, mechanical exhaust equipment right there. Okay, and then there's a roof hatch. A roof hatch lets you be able to come up onto the roof if you're climbing the ladder inside to get onto the roof. And so right when you get off, you'll have this pathway here. And so this is like a walk path for folks that need to get on the roof for whatever reason. Okay, so let's see. Some of these may be somewhat redundant. What is this right here? Roof hydrant per plumbing. So there's going to be a roof hydrant there. It's not really pointing to anything, but that note indicates that there will be one there. Now, let's see. This is quite a pretty large roof area. And so again, the walk path right here continues. And here's where you have a skylight. This is a skylight system on a flash curb. Now, we'll get into the flash curb probably when we look at one of these details. It'll show us how the flash curb looks and how that all comes together. But here's another roof hatch, but this is a type 2 roof hatch. So pay attention to that. The other one that we looked at is a type 1. So again, you can find those details, I'm pretty sure, on the next sheets, some of the detail sheets. Look at this note here, a 2-hour firewall and a 2-inch expansion joint assemblies. All right, so it's saying below that there's a firewall. Go check out that video that I did about firewalls so you can understand what all that's about. But I believe I used this area in that video actually. Now an expansion joint allows the building, because you can see that hard line there. So the building is kind of separated at that point. An expansion joint, actually allows the separation to be flexible so that the building doesn't crush itself when, it settles into the ground or the weather changes or just different reasons for, the ground to expand and contract. And so that's why you have expansion joints. Maybe we'll do a video on expansion joints because I've actually done quite a bit of work in the field with expansion joints. And so that's something that would probably be useful to share. Okay, now coming back to this area here that we're going to look at the enlarged plan, but I just wanted to, point out that there are apparently different roof types. It says right here, the roof type 2.1. There's also a roof type 2.2. And that would lead me to believe that there is a roof type 1. Another thing that you can see is the slope. Some of these, all these roofs have to slope a certain direction in order to get water off of there. So that's indicated right here. Wherever you see the slope, the arrow is indicating the direction that it's going. And you can be rest assured that it's going to go into a drain, and that's what you have right there. That's the drains for the water. These peaks here kind of also direct the water to that direction. If you can envision this, this is kind of like sitting like that, and so it keeps the water from being able to, gather up. It's just further directing the water into the drains, and then those are going off of the roof. So with that, you can notice a couple of other notes about sloping. So getting an idea of how this roof may look. It's sloping this direction like this. That's what that's indicating. So that is that. And you can see all around, the outside of the building, you have this same sort of a setup with these peaks here, and then you have the drains. And I believe that is probably the secondary drain, just in case the main drain gets to overflow. You have a secondary drain that's by it. We do want to focus in now on the Outdoor Learning Classroom Science Solar Lab. Now, you know, this little square around there with the symbol lets us know that if we go to this detail, and this is on this same sheet because we already saw it, we can look at more information about this roof. So this is pretty cool, actually. If you're in Baltimore and you happen to pass by the school, I don't know, check out the solar lab, because it looks like, you know, this is something good for the students, I think. Not much of a slope with this. Not much of a slope with any of these. And we'll be able to find, you know, I've got some actual pictures of this academy, and you may be able to tell some of the roofs. You may be able to, it may make more sense if I put a video picture up here. But so there's several things going on. So it appears that there's a bench, some sort of a bench right there. So, okay, first of all, here's a door. So you have a door onto this roof access door, EJ there, that's your expansion joint. All right, that is that separation that the building has. And normally expansion joints are 4 inches, or they may be 6 inches. So it's actually 4 inches of space between the building. And expansion joints, they put the material inside that joint that allows it to expand and contract. Sometimes they have to be fireproof as well. These may have to be, because I know that there's a firewall somewhere around here. So expansion joints can be pretty complicated. And then sometimes there's normally a cover if it's exposed like this. So there's some sort of a covering on top of that. But again, we'll get into that later. I'm interested in this bench. When they say a bench, what do they mean? Let's see. Going to detail G14 on A-110. G14. G14 is right here. All right, so detail at bench post base plate connection. So now this is the detail of this roof, and I guess we're here now. So let's look at the detail of this roof. All right, starting from the bottom. Now remember when we talked about the bottom of deck? Here's the deck right there. This is the metal deck, and you need the metal deck in order to pour the concrete on for the roof. So whenever you're going to have people walking around just like something like this, you're going to have to pour concrete on the roof. It's not going to be just a metal deck, because that won't hold up the weight of people and whatever else is going on the roof. Also, for mechanical equipment, you may run against the same scenario with concrete being poured on top of a metal deck. But so let's look at all of these, okay? So we have the metal deck there. There's a concrete roof deck, okay? And then you've got welded pipe to 12-inch square base plate bolted to the concrete deck. All right, so they've got these posts here. And these posts, now imagine this is only at the concrete level here. They haven't built all this other stuff up. So the way that this would go, before they pour the concrete, they would already have this stuff set in the concrete. These are the anchors here. What did they say? Bolted to, okay. So these are the anchors that are anchoring down the base plate. And those are poured, those are in the concrete when the concrete is poured. So now they're in place. And now you have that base plate. And they probably come and screw those bolts on there. But you'd have all this sticking up. And what this is the bench post. So this is really embedded into the ground. And it's just like a bench for the kiddos to come and sit and learn. But it's very stable there. Now, we want to know what goes on top of that, okay? So on here, they have a rigid insulation mechanically fastened to the deck. Rigid insulation, we'll pop it up right there to show how that looks. But it's basically like foam is the best way to explain it. Dense foam, and the purpose of it is to keep insulation. This is very thick, actually. It appears to be kind of thick. But it's insulation in order to keep the roof insulated, you know. Keep it hot in the winter, heated in the winter, and cool in the summer. So, and they also talk about it's mechanically fastened to the deck. So they're going to use some sort of machine to fasten this rigid insulation to the deck. All right. And on top of that, they got one layer of 1-inch coverboard insulation set in asphalt. All right, so they're doing a lot on this roof. All right, so this is 1-inch coverboard, and it's pretty much something kind of solid to walk on top of, you know, instead of just having you walk on the rigid insulation, you have a 1-inch coverboard. All right, and then I would want to see what that is right there. It says it's set in asphalt. So that's what the coverboard is set on. All right, let's see. All right, so there's also pedestal pavers, and pedestal pavers is a system. If you've ever been like on a roof where it appears to have this sort of setup, kind of like something like that, those are called pedestal pavers, and they actually, it's a system where you have these pedestals, and they're, you know, elevated off the ground, and then you would set these pavers on there. It's just pavers, and so then you would have a surface for people to walk on, and it's a whole built-up system. Now, also notice before you do the pedestal pavers, they're going to have a sealant. They're going to seal continuously around this base plate, or I'm sorry, around this post. So that's what's happening there. That's what that note indicates. So there's some direction here to extend membrane flashing 8 inches above roof. So this has a membrane flashing on top of it. And can you see? Yeah, you can see. You can see where it starts and stops right here. And there also appears to be sealant right there as well. So they're going to have flashing that comes up. And you can see it. It's that darkened line right there. So that's flashing that comes 8 inches, as it indicates, above the roof. Okay, and then it gives some more detail about the bench posts. It says bench posts extended to account for thickness of pedestal paver and roof. All right, so it's just saying that you know, we need to account for the thickness of all that stuff. Okay. Now it appears that right here, in this particular detail, it shows the transition between the pedestal pavers and their vegetative roof system. And to separate that, there's a metal edge, metal angle, and that is what separates these two types of surfaces. So there's a vegetative system on the roof as well. All right, so I think we pretty much broke that down. Hopefully I didn't make that too difficult. But now let's go back to the roof plan and see what else we can find there. All right. So that was one detail there. There's also, so there are the pedestal pavers that is showing right there that we looked at already. The pedestal pavers don't cover the entire roof like we saw earlier. There's a bench, and then you have this vegetative area. So anyway, I'd like to see what these rocks are. This is concrete, or what is this? Let's look at this detail right here. Okay, we're looking for detail L4. It's right here in the corner. So this is showing me something I didn't know. There's a guardrail, but that makes sense. But here at this detail that we're slicing through, you see the assembly that we just looked at. You got the vegetative roof, but now you have a guardrail that sits on top of that. So it gives information about the guardrail. And it says that, well, typical of a guardrail, you've got your steel pickets. This is a galvanized steel. And so right there just pretty much shows you that there is a guardrail going around, to protect people from falling off. So that shouldn't be too much of a surprise. And there's a couple of details here that probably show more about the guardrails. I'm not sure. They're on this sheet. So let's look at J18 to see what that detail shows. Yeah, so J18 just gives a cross section of the guardrail and gives you more information about that. And you can kind of see how it coincides with the rest of the roof. Now this brings me to something else. This detail here says, or this note says, step over parapet to walkway mat. Now the walkway mat is what we showed, but now let's look at parapet. All right, let's pull up J14. That's going to take us to another sheet we haven't been to before, but that will give us the detail about the parapet. All right, so we are here on the wall sections at the media and central mechanical room, and we are looking for J14. Here it is right here. We're here to look at the parapet. So here is the parapet, and I love these drawings because they just spell everything right out here for you. So this exterior parapet, and we can follow right along. So starting right here, 4 inches of nominal masonry veneer. And that's what's indicated right there. And this next slot, 1 5/8 inch of airspace. And you got 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches of cavity foam insulation. And then you have 5/8 inches of sheathing, showing right there. And then you've got a 6-inch metal stud. 6-inch metal stud, thicker than your normal wall. Your normal wall is like 3 5/8, making it a 4-inch wall. This is a 6-inch one. And then you've got 5/8 plywood sheathing. That's that last little deal that you can see right there. So this is a pretty intense parapet. This is the side that has the vegetative roof, because remember the guardrail is there. And then over on this side, there is where the walk path is. But so that's the parapet. Hopefully I explained that enough. And, again, this just gets into what's going on underneath the roof. Shows a finished gypsum bulkhead, drywall bulkhead there, and the steel beams, which when it was talking about the joist, the bottom of joist, the joist beams, that's that. Bottom of deck, there we go, bottom of deck, varies. The elevation varies. Now we can scoot right over to the right a little bit and see another exterior parapet. Let's go to this detail, A7. All right, that's going to give us a better detail there. So parapet detail at classroom. Looks like it has a kind of an overhang there and pre-finished metal panel covering that on top of there. This is the ICF wall, and I made a video about an ICF wall. You can look for that in my videos. But yeah, so there's the masonry again. This is actually, what do we got? Blocking here, 2 by 8, 2 inches by 8 inches wood blocking that goes continuous along the length of the roof. Here's where it breaks down the assembly. So you've got a metal panel on the outside, 1.5 inch metal panel, 4 1/4 inch shims on galvanized girts. The girts, you can zoom in here, they're pretty much what hold the metal panels into place. All right, let's go back to the roof plan. Where are we at? We're here? Okay. All right, now let's look at the roof types. And it breaks them down for us. We did know that there were roof types already. We pointed that out, but this gives us more details about them. So roof type 1, this is your typical roof. It's an adhered membrane. So let's just look at just a very simple type of roof. So it's going to start out here with a metal deck. That's what you see indicated there. That's the flutes of the deck. And then on top of that, you have your roof insulation. That's the roof insulation again. And it tells you that the R value should be 30 7/8. And R value is how we track thermal insulation, how well insulated a product is. The higher the R value, the more insulated it is. And so right on top of that, you have your cover board, which we looked at one of those earlier, and then adhered membrane TPO sheet roofing. So that's just a membrane that they lay on top of the roof, and it's adhered with, well, sometimes it's tar, sometimes, some sort of adhesive. And here is roof type 2.1, the vegetated roof. And we're not going to go over this whole thing again because we did see that already, but this is just the detail of it. Now the R value of that is slightly different. A little bit more, it looks like, right? Yeah, a little bit more. Okay, roof type 2.2 is the walkway roof pavers. Roof paver with the height adjustable pedestals. All right, remember I telling you about that. Everything else right here is the same, but the difference is the roof pavers with the height adjustable pedestals. Okay. Oh, and there we go. Those were all the roof plans. Roof types. Now let's see. Typical notes I'd point out here. How about number 2? Unless otherwise noted, minimum slope is 1/4 inch per foot. So remember I told you all that it's not going to slope a whole lot. It's every foot it slopes only 1/4 inch. Provide tapered insulation, even if not showed on the plan, as required to maintain minimum required slope to roof drains and eliminate any areas of potential standing water. So that was what I was pointing out earlier. Those peaks and valleys, that was what they're talking about, the tapered insulation. And it says it's what it's for, to eliminate standing water. So provide the tapered insulation, minimum 1/4 per foot at all crickets indicated to drains. Crickets is the term for those peaks that we saw on there. Those are crickets. More instructions and that sort of thing. Well, I think I delved enough into roof plans. Like I said, there's a whole lot to see on here. So if you guys have specific questions about something, don't hesitate to leave it in my comments. And well, this may be the new way of making videos now. The thing is, I just moved into a new house, and that's kind of the delay between this video and the last video with getting everything set up and things like that. But I kind of like this setup. I got a hard hat here in the background, and maybe I'll add a couple of little trinkets that I've come across in my construction time. Anyway, thank you all for your time watching, and peace out.